Hello everyone and welcome back to the Music Dungeon with me, mackplaysbanjo. Now a little bit ago I did a video reacting to a list of the 35 best banjo players and it wasn't a super good list, so you can go watch that video if you want. But ever since then I have been going through and reviewing various players that I thought maybe shouldn't have been on that list. They maybe weren't the top 30 players of all time. And in my last video I reviewed Kermit the Frog. We decided that he shouldn't be on that list. The one before that we reviewed Roy Clark, who kind of left that up in the air. A lot of people got angry. Such is the way as it goes. But this video we are going to review someone who definitely should be on the list of the 35 best banjo players of all time, and arguably should be on the list of the one best banjo player of all time. We're talking about Noam Pikelny today, and we're not rating him because obviously there's no point to that. He is phenomenal. Phenomenal. But we are going to watch these videos put out by Reverb. I think it's him explaining some things about the instrument. So today is going to be more of a learning experience because Noam is very good at banjo, sort of. I mean, he's kind of good, I guess, if you're into that thing. But I think this is going to be a great learning opportunity. I'm not sure what he's going to say. I think there's 3 videos here. They're all pretty short, so we'll probably get through all of them today. I'm going to offer a little perspective, a little expert analysis, a little Noam interpretation, maybe some extracurricular facts that Noam won't mention, but I will. So yeah, it's going to be a great learning opportunity today, and hopefully we'll all learn some things. So let's get right into it.
The real tectonic shift in the place of the banjo happened when Earl Scruggs kind of codified the 3-finger Scruggs style approach of playing. It's almost like elemental. When you hear Earl Scruggs play the banjo, it's what the banjo is supposed to sound like. The Scruggs style is more of a rolling style where you have a lot of open drone strings and melody notes that are interspersed with open drone strings of a roll. And so a lot of times he'll be playing a vocal melody, which is where the melody is moving more slowly, but the picking pattern is fast. That's not a Scruggs arrangement. That's just kind of the general approach. So that's how Scruggs was doing it, and then he wrote classic instrumentals that weren't based on vocal melodies that still used that style. So a lot of them like with great speed.
Great speed. Isn't that called ground speed?
Style. So a lot of them like with great speed.
He said great speed, right? That song's called ground. Hold on, am I tripping here? Yeah, it's ground speed. So I don't know. Maybe Noam knows something I don't, or maybe he just had a slip.
You had guys like Bill Keith and Bobby Thompson who came along playing in what has become known as a melodic style, where they're trying to match the notes of a fiddle. They would play a melody like Whiskey Before Breakfast, like that idea, where you're kind of playing note for note what a fiddle would be playing, versus more of a Scruggs approach for that kind of melody would probably be like.
That's cool. Scruggs Whiskey Before Breakfast. Let's take a crack at that, shall we? Okay, what did he play?
That kind of melody would probably be like.
So it's kind of like let me get the banjo in frame here. It was something like that.
Melody would probably be like.
Oh no, it was Oh. That's really cool. That's a really cool way to phrase the melody. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. Bum. Yeah. That's really cool. I'm gonna work on that. A very neat way to articulate the melody that I haven't really heard before.
Bill Keith really became the most famous practitioner of that style, and people really hadn't heard the banjo sound so different since the last time that Earl Scruggs kind of came out on the scene. Around the same time, a guy named Don Reno, who's another master banjo player, was working on kind of a more guitaristic style on the banjo, and that kind of planted the seed for what is known as the single string style, which is essentially thumb index, back and forth to simulate the up and down motion of a flat pick.
Unless you're cool and you use all three fingers. I know you do, Noam. I have seen you play single string with all three fingers, so don't pretend that you just do thumb index.
And a lot of people started expanding upon that to use that technique, not just for playing riffs, but for actually playing melodies. Tony Trischka really made a lot of inroads in that, and that style of single string was really came into blossom with Bela Fleck's playing. He figured out a way to play single string, to play melodies and to improvise. That kind of was the bridge as far as getting more legato sounds out of the banjo. You could improvise.
If Earl Scruggs was like the tectonic shift for Scruggs style, Bela was the tectonic shift for single string, because it existed before him, which the rolling style did exist before Earl, but it didn't come into being a great musical style until that artist, Earl for Scruggs style and Bela for single string.
With the instrument being a little bit more mellow and with less of a defined attack. And just an example of playing single string, that song Whiskey Before Breakfast that you heard is melodic, or Scruggs. You could play single string like a guitar player. And that being the single string style, but that, once kind of the floodgates were open for that, this single string became an amazing springboard for improvising. People have asked me, like, well, are you playing single string there, or is that melodic there, or is that Scruggs style? And I had the luxury of learning the banjo with these incredible kind of textbook examples of these three styles. When I came up, there was already Earl Scruggs and J.D. Crowe. You had Bill Keith and Alan Mundy playing melodic style, and then people like Bela Fleck, Tony Trischka, Alison Brown playing single string. I've been playing those three styles enough that I've been trying to find ways to blur the lines and kind of make them flow in and out of each other, so it's not necessarily one distinct thing.
And he is, if not the GOAT of banjo, which he probably is, he's at least the GOAT of blending styles, because no one does that as well as Noam. Let's go on to the next video, shall we? Blending guitar and banjo techniques with Noam Pikelny. This is the same song he was playing in the end of the last one. that's not a banjo. Come on, Noam.
Initially started as a banjo player, and when I was 16 or so, I became obsessed with flat picking guitar,
Ugh.
the music of.
This hurts to hear. This really does. I mean, we all know he came back to the right instrument, but it's one of our greatest warriors nearly got sucked in by the dark side, and that's just hard to hear. It's hard to hear.
Tony Rice and David Greer, and then Clarence White, and then through Clarence White I got really interested in Telecaster music, and that became a real obsession. And I actually stopped playing banjo for a while, and I was mostly interested in kind of country electric guitar. I didn't expect this, but a lot of
if he hadn't had that break, he actually could have been good. Dang, imagine what he'd be like if he hadn't taken a break to play Telly.
the electric guitar stuff, a lot of the chicken picking Telecaster stuff really transferred its way back onto the banjo really nicely. And a lot of the
Well, at least it wasn't a total waste.
more single string stuff on the banjo, a lot of the less bluegrassy things that I play on the banjo, I think really started to come into focus after my experience playing Telecaster. And I find that to be kind of ironic because so much of the Telecaster style, or at least the chicken picking style, is informed by banjo playing. Like, that was the sound I was
That is true. All the country guitar guys just steal our stuff.
gravitating towards on Telecaster, and I started learning that, and then it came back and actually influenced how I played banjo. So it's this weird feedback loop.
That is true. I did go through a country guitar phase. I know, guys, shocking. I listen to some guitar music. No, I listen to all different kinds of music, but I went through a Telecaster country guitar phase, and there were so many licks in there that were very banjoistic. This lick especially. That was rough because I wasn't wearing finger picks. Sorry. But I heard that all the time listening to country guitar music, constantly. And I was like, Earl? Is that you, Earl? Is that you? But yeah, they have taken a lot out of our vocabulary. And then I guess Noam took a lot out of their vocabulary. So that's the feedback loop, I suppose. These must have been recorded 8 years ago. That was right after he came out with Universal Favorite, right? Because every song he's played has been from that record. This is My Tears Won't Show from Universal Favorite, which, great song. That whole album is fantastic. Go listen to it. But I particularly like that song. Even though there's no banjo in it, I know, but it's still Noam Pikelny playing it. So it's basically a banjo if he's playing it, right?
Once you're spoiled with the abilities of like one instrument, you find you're in search of ways to coax that out of other instruments. And I think if I had never picked up a Telecaster, I would have never tried bending strings on a banjo. And if I had never played electric guitar, I probably wouldn't have gravitated towards a top tension banjo that has all this extra sustain. I thought, oh, I could play electric guitar for a living. And I got to college, and everybody played guitar. I just wanted to play music with people. And it's like, well, we already have a guitar player. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to that jam session. Okay, there are already 9 guitar players there. And so it became clear that if I wanted to have any friends, I had to get out the banjo.
Got him.
And so I started playing banjo again, and then all of a sudden I was welcome. And which is
as it should be. I approve of this message.
Kind of, most people would think it would be the opposite. That, pick up the banjo and then all of a sudden you're shunned from society. But no, in Champaign, Illinois.
Well, I found that to be true personally. I don't know what he's stuck in.
It was the opposite for me.
Wavelands. Okay, very cool. What did we learn from that? If you want to be the greatest banjo player of all time, play telly. Okay, let's watch the last video. Noam Pikelny on vintage Gibson banjos and tricone 4-string guitar. Are there any more than this? No, I don't think so. What's this legendary video? We have seen this featured multiple times on the channel, but we've never actually watched it. Let's get before breakfast again. They really like recycling footage through these videos, don't they?
So this banjo is a 1941 Gibson Style 7 banjo.
I'm not gonna be able to talk super much because I'm just drooling so much looking at this banjo.
The Gibson banjos from that era actually were built originally as 4-string banjos. The real rare ones, the real holy grail banjos from that era are the original 5-string flathead master tone banjos. That was the number one choice for Earl Scruggs. He played a 1930 or 1932 Gibson Granada flathead banjo that had an original 5-string neck. Amazing deep sound that you could get out of these instruments, and it was always a dream of mine as a little kid to one day own one of these banjos. And I stumbled upon this banjo at George Green's shop in Nashville. It had already been converted. It was a 4-string banjo originally, but since the necks on these instruments are bolt on, bolt off, you could have a modern maker make a replica neck, and a guy named Robin Smith had built this neck for this banjo. This instrument was actually originally shipped to South Africa in 1941. A gentleman in Johannesburg found this banjo in a pawn shop in the 80s. I've always loved this banjo. It's a little bit different than some
Imagine finding this banjo in a pawn shop.
The more famous flathead banjos of that era. This one it's called a top tension design. They came up with a design where you could actually tighten the head of the banjo from the top.
I have always been so jealous of that. You just adjust the tension all the time. You don't have to take it out of the resonator and lay it on your lap and do it. And then that would be so much more convenient.
This top tension design added maybe 25% of extra metal to the weight of the instrument, and so it's the heaviest banjo Gibson ever made. And people who
It's got to be like what, 15, 16 pounds then? It's gonna be brutal on his back, standing for all those Punch Brothers concerts.
Who bemoan the weight of like a heavy Les Paul have never picked up a Gibson top tension banjo. It's really out of control. But all that extra mass just kind of gives it a real huge sound, and it fills the room in a way that's kind of unlike other master tone banjos, and I find it effective for playing solo because it has such low end that's not typically associated with banjos. This banjo is kind of at the cornerstone of this record tonally, but it's a 1928 4-string tricone plectrum guitar. So that means it's kind of has a long neck like a banjo, but is 4 strings and has 3 of the spun metal cones. They marketed
I want one.
that instrument, I think, to stubborn banjo players because at the end of the 20s, the banjo was fading out of popularity. There were apparently banjo players who were refusing to adapt, and they wanted an instrument that they could play like a banjo that sounded more like a guitar. So it's a completely bizarre instrument.
Shameful. Shameful. Embrace the banjo tone.
But I picked it up, and I could play it like a banjo, just like a banjo without a 5th string, and it has infinite reverb and amazing sustain to it, and it's such a cool ethereal sound. And I found somebody online who said that exact model, the 1928 tricone plectrum guitar, that when it was introduced, it really served no musical purpose. And he went on to say that remains true to this day. And so when I saw that, I thought, I have to have it and I have to record with it. And
Noam and I are very similar. We're both driven by spiting the internet haters. Me with my YouTube commenters, and Noam with his random dude he saw probably on Banjo Hangout or something. No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. Aw, that's sweet.
I started using it on lots of projects. I played that on a song called, a Josh Ritter song called Folk Bloodbath on the record, and then another song of mine called The Great Falls. And there's just no substitute for age, and I don't think it's that the metal has changed composition over the last 80 years. It's the fact that all of the various parts of this instrument have been together, for 80 years or so, and they've become one unit, and they're vibrating in this kind of symbiotic relationship, and it has a connectedness that is hard to find in a newer instrument. So it's become a real passion of mine, learning as much as possible about them and collecting these instruments, and reverb has made it that passion, even more dangerous.
Nice little plug for reverb at the end there. Yeah, great stuff. I wonder how true that is about instruments sounding better as they get older, because I've heard a lot of people say that, but I know it's definitely true with instruments sounding better the more they're vibrated. In the Rick Beato Bela Fleck interview video I did, Bela talked about how a lot of pianos, if they're only played on the white keys will sound really good, and then the black keys will kind of be dead by comparison. That is definitely true. So instruments do sound better the more they're vibrated at specific frequencies, but I wonder how true it is with just age and the instrument getting used to vibrating with its component parts and everything. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but yeah, this was great. I learned a lot. Hopefully you guys did too. What's my rating of Noam Pikelny? 2 thumbs up. If I had more thumbs, he would have as many thumbs up as I had thumbs. I would give him toes up if I didn't refuse to show my feet on camera. Also, I'm wearing socks, so that doesn't really work. But yes, Noam is amazing. Potentially the GOAT. Definitely the GOAT of blending styles, and it's great to get the chance to learn from him a little bit. So I definitely learned something. Hopefully you guys did too. If you enjoyed the video, I'm glad. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.